Hey y'all, it's Kelly. I wanted to share with you really quickly my process of doing a vision board. I love doing vision boards, but not typically in the way that you might think. Like, I don't go through the whole cutting out newspaper stuff and, posting them to a board. I did that once. It was fun, but I've kind of changed it up just to fit my mood, I guess, just because I don't want to go through all the magazines. But if you do, like, that's totally great. I think you should seriously do whatever feels good and fun and easy to you, because then we're going to be more connected to our vision and our goals. And I have huge big goals for 2021, and so I wanted to invite you to see my process, and then I'm going to also show you some alternatives that I've used over the years as well. So let's hop into my office and get started. All right, so let's do this. I'm so excited about this. This is such a fun, creative process, and I think that's really helpful when we do our vision boards, is to feel that connection. It doesn't need to be a process that's rushed through, or you're doing it just to check off a box, right? We really want to get into the energy of connecting with what we want for our year or for our life, our business, whatever your vision board is built around. So why are we doing this? For me, this has sort of been, it's been honestly magical, and it seems to fast track my dreams into real life, right? Like, it's like once I get it out on this board, and we're going to talk about this more as we go through this, it really makes it where I'm like, okay, this could be possible for me. And so we constantly need to ask ourselves, what do we believe is possible for us? And I think this vision board is just an extension of that. So when I started really deciding what I wanted, instead of just letting life happen to me, things got really good pretty quickly for me. I started this in 2016, and it's no coincidence that this is when my business started to really take off. Up until that point, I kind of just was half in, half out. I was just passive. I was waiting for the sales. I was, just in a place of like constantly waiting for this business to take off. But then I realized like I had a lot more power than I thought I did. And I was able to actually kind of co-create this reality and co-create this beautiful business. I'm a big believer in, I guess I'm a big believer in really looking at what we want in our life, to look at, what we can have, what we do believe is possible, and just stretching those limits and those beliefs, and looking at those beliefs and asking, is this true, or is this just what I've been predisposed to, or what I've agreed to through life? Like, I've just accepted this as truth. And so when we look at those thoughts and beliefs, we can kind of decide exactly how good we'll allow ourselves to have it. Like, I don't believe in letting fear get in my way, but I get that we all have fear, right? I'm no stranger to fear. I'm no stranger to being scared to do something. And when I started to look at what I wanted and really examining my thoughts around if I believed it was possible for me or not, I was able to connect with my heart's deepest desires and find a way to bring those into my reality. So one of my big desires was to run a very successful, fun, and easy business doing what I love. I was tired of being away from my kids. I was tired of, working for somebody else and it not being fun, and just clocking in, clocking out, and going through my life in just a very, mundane way. And so if I hadn't really stopped to connect with that big, really big, very real desire of mine, I probably would have just let it go by, allow my fear to stop me, or I would have thought, I'm not smart enough to make this business happen, or good enough, or I would have had, these long list of excuses. So all that's to say, I'm a really big fan of being intentional about what we want and creating a sacred space for our dreams and our goals and our visions. And even more so, knowing that we can have our deepest desires. They are in our hearts for a reason, and if they're there, we can make it happen. And so believing that is job number one. Okay, so that's sort of the why I do vision boards. Let's go on to, there are just so many ways to create a space for your vision. And so it's really important to find out what works for you. And in this video, we're going to go over a few different ways that I use them. Sometimes I do multiple ways just because I think it helps. One, it's fun, right? Like, we get to be creative, but then I think it helps just ground us more into thinking and believing that this is actually possible for us. These things that we put on our vision board, anchoring that in and getting that into our soul where we're like, yeah, I really could do this. It's not just a bunch of pretty images of somebody else's life. I want this for me. And so I really encourage you to try more than one way, create your own way. But the point is to have fun and allow yourself to dream. So here are 3 steps that we're going to go through to get that vision and decide what we want. Okay, so step number 1 is very basics, but so important. What do you want? Not what does your family want, what, your parents want for you. I want you to really take some time, and we're going to go through an exercise and some journal questions later on in this video, but right now just think about what do you want. And maybe not think about it right now while you're watching the video, but at some point I want you to set aside some time to really think about what you want. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, looking at what is possible for you. It helps us so much when we can stretch our belief around what is possible for you. Do you believe that you could have a multi-six-figure business, or that you could buy a home next year, or whatever it is that your big goal is? But sit there and think about, what do you want? Because a lot of times we just go through life and get what's handed to us, but maybe it's time we start stepping up and demanding more from ourselves and from the world around us. So think about, what do you want? That is step number 1. And again, don't skip over this because it's completely crucial to creating a vision board that's going to serve you. And step number 2 is make a commitment and decide. This is also so big, right? It sounds kind of basic. Just, okay, I'm going to decide to do this. But there is so much power in our decisions. And once we draw that line of the sand of like, it can't be this way anymore, I want this, and we make that commitment and decide to go all in, it's huge. It's huge. This was huge for me. Like I always say, people say, well, how did you build a multi-six-figure business? And it literally came down to, I just decided to, and then I figured it out. And so don't take this power that you have to decide something lightly, because it can completely be life-changing. Step number 3. So once we decide what we want and we honor the space that we're going to commit to it, we're going to honor this decision that we have, we want to get it out of our brain, because you don't want that thing running around in your brain with a million other thoughts. Like, we're going to make it special. We're going to give it its own space. And so I want you to get it out of your brain and out into the world. And by that, I mean out into a vision board, or, and like I said, there's so many ways to do this. And no way is wrong, but I want you to get it out of your brain and out into where you can visually see it. All right, on to, let's get this going, right? Let's have fun. I'm really excited about sharing this with you. So let's dream big and have fun, fabulous lives, right? Okay, let's do this. So I do want to mention a side note. If painting is not your thing, stay tuned, because I will talk about some other ways that I do these and a digital format that I use as well. Like I said, I do these in so many ways because it just gets me connected to those goals and that vision. Like, I review these often because, when we review our goals, it keeps us in front of us. And so this is something you need to see on a daily basis. So like, I have this kind of everywhere in my house. So I love paint and the ability to paint. I'm not necessarily good at it, but I just love being able to put paint on paper. It's very calming for me. I love, an abstract work that's full of scratches and texture and layers of color. I'm absolutely obsessed with color. And so for whatever reason, like, that just connects my brain to my goals when I do it through color. So again, if you don't like the paint, you don't have to do it this way, but this is my place where I can be very type B and throw out the rules and not worry about mistakes or if I make a mess. There's no room for perfectionism here. We're just going to have fun and flow. So here is what I use. For my vision board paintings, I guess we can call them, I always use watercolor paper. I actually use acrylic paints, but I use watercolor paper because I just have stacks of these. Not stacks, but I've got like 3 pieces or 3 packs of this paper. And sometimes I use watercolor, but a lot of times I use acrylic. And this is a good heavy paper. And so it supports either which way I want to go. So if I'm ever doing like mixed media stuff, I always use watercolor paper because it seems to be the thickest and the heaviest. At the end of this video, I will leave a list to every supply that I've used in here. I also use these paint markers because they have so many colors. They work really well on top of the acrylics, so I enjoy using those as well. Plus, I can write out my goals, and I'm going to show you. Or I'm going to write out the things that I really want to achieve for the next year. And so these have been really fun. Any brand probably would work. I mean, obviously there's going to be some brands that maybe don't work as well on top of acrylics. These do. Posca markers. It's Posca. They're a little expensive, but they are great, great, great markers. They're my favorite. This brand I got from Amazon, and they work really well too. So I also use glitter, and if you've been around me for any length of time, then you probably know that I really love digital glitter. I love using digital glitter in Photoshop because there's no mess to clean up. But I saw these. The colors are very vibrant on them. The glitter is super fine. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So I like to sometimes use glitter in real life as long as my kids aren't around because I don't want them using it because it's such a mess to clean up. So glitter is something else I use. Now, the point being, I want you to use anything that looks fun to you in creating this. The whole point of this is to light you up, have fun while connecting you to your goals. So you could repurpose anything around the house. We'll talk more about that later as well, but the point is just let's have some fun and get into a creative flow. Okay, here I have piled on some paint. I've, let a layer dry, come back, add some more. So what we're going to do is just paint and mark it up. Sometimes I'll write my word for the year or how I want to feel that year, and then I paint on top of that, and I'll show you that as well in a different process. But also on this, like, you could write down what you want to feel and just infuse that energy into this board, into this paint picture. And then sometimes I'll write what I want to feel on one layer, cover it up with paint, and then on top of that I write my goals, my dreams, just whatever. Or you could write like your income goals. What do you want to make this next year, especially if you own a business? What kind of big income goals do you want to reach? How much do you want to make per month or per year? Or just, this is so personal, and it gets to be your space to do whatever you want with. So you could write, like, maybe there's a new product or a new service that you want to create. Maybe there's something you want to learn this year, like some personal goal. Maybe you want to lose weight or upgrade something in your life. I only allow things on the board that make me feel really good or in alignment with what my soul wants. Like, I want to paint my dining room, but I don't want this to be a to-do list, and that kind of feels like it could be a to-do list thing. And so it's more of a place for me. As I said, do it whatever feels best for you. But for me, my board is a place to add in things that would make me really happy. So I'm actually going to paint my dining room, because when we bought this house last year, it has this goldish color on the wall, which it's not awful, but I just feel like there would be a different paint color that's really going to make me happy. And so that's one of the things that I have on mine. So whatever your vision is for your life and your business, put it down. The bigger, the better. Stretch what you believe is possible for you. So while I want to paint my dining room, I also have big goals like putting in an in-ground pool for my kids and reaching a huge income goal for my business and growing my team. Those are some of my big things that I want to see happen in this next year. So your innermost desires, let's talk about that for a minute. I want you to connect to what you want and know that you can bring those desires into your reality, even if you don't know how it's going to happen. It may feel really far-fetched. It may feel like something that could be almost impossible for you. But here's what I want you to just really understand, because this is what I think helped me grow to the next level, to the next level, to the next level every time I did one of these. Please know that if it's in your heart, it can be in your reality. There is no such thing as a good or bad desire when it comes to those true desires of your heart. It's a sacred space that is all yours. You can have your best year yet when you decide and commit to what you want. So there's no room for doubt or fear on this page. It's a space for you to put down your wildest ideas and things that would make your life really amazing and fun, whatever it is that you want to feel. Okay, so here's a little exercise that I mentioned at the beginning that we would go over. So if you're having trouble really finding out what it is that you want, or maybe you have a lot of ideas and you're not sure what to focus on, let's go through these journal questions. And don't skip this step. Make sure you come back to this part in the video and write the questions down and actually go answer them, because they can really unlock some stuff that's within us. And maybe it's some stuff that we didn't even know we wanted. So if we could just look at how we could go through the next year. If time or money were not an issue, like how would you go through your next year? Like how would you move through your day? Like write down or speak out loud. Like what does that look like? What does your dream day involve? How much would you like to earn each month from your business? If you're just starting out, like what are those goals? Or if you've been in it for a while, like do you set those goals of like what's the big number that would really get you excited about your business? What kind of products and services would you like to create or sell, what to help make that big goal happen? So really go through and have a space in your journal. If you don't have a journal, go get a journal. They're so important in running a business. They've helped me really plan things out and move forward and find out where I'm stuck. We always have so many limiting beliefs as humans, and when we really look at them and dig through and sometimes just freestyle, free flow writing, we can help unlock that. So I highly recommend adding that into part of your morning routine or daily routine. Journaling has become so important to me in running my business and helping me just move through those big blocks. So as I said, highly recommend it. Don't skip this step. Back to our vision board. Hopefully you've done the journal questions, or that you do have, you have a plan to think about those kind of things and go through those questions. So when I have all my big dreams and goals and what I want for my life in the coming year all down, I make sure to hang it somewhere where I can see it every day. I also like to mat and frame it, right? Like this is special to me. This is important to me. This is like kind of a place for all the big vision, goal, dreams, all this, where it just hangs out together. And so I really want to make that important. And, I think a frame and a mat just makes it more beautiful too. But that's a personal preference. But in regards to seeing your vision board often, this can also help in believing that you can achieve these things, right? Like especially since we all know what fear likes to get in there and convince us that we can't do big things, right? If fear likes to tell us that we can't reach these big, crazy goals when they feel so intangible to us and like they're so far out there. But I want you to get to know your dreams, get acquainted with them, make friends with them, so to speak, so they don't feel so scary. So when we see them day after day, we can start stepping into a place of like, you know what, I really do think this is possible for me. Another way we can help get acquainted with our dreams and our big visions and make it where it's just not as scary and it's no big deal is by setting anchors. And so for me, this means like when I create my vision board, I take a picture of it and then I put it everywhere that I can, like digitally. Like I use it as the wallpaper to my phone or the lock screen to my phone, or I put it on my laptop, desktop. So I can always have that in front of me, right? Like I want to be able to see it all the time. Like there's that study or that saying, that say, like you reach your goals faster. Millionaires look at their goals 1 time a day, billionaires look at their goal twice a day. So there's just, that repetition where we make this ingrained with us and just put it in our soul and connect to it on such a deep level. So always seeing it and knowing what they are and looking at it. And so taking a picture, or, sometimes I like to revisit my goals by painting over what I've done, and then I'll just put on more paint and layer it again and just keep repeating that process. It's fun. Again, I love just to throw paint down on paper. And so it allows me to do that and reconnect with the goals. Another thing that has been really helpful is changing your password to your new income goal. So maybe that's like 5-figure months or something. Or, like my annual goal is usually I'll change my email password to incorporate that. Or just, we use tons of passwords. And that just locks that in again by seeing that. And so I really highly recommend. I know it's a pain to change your password, but we probably don't change them enough. And so every 90 days, I have it set a notification to come up on my phone of like change your password. And so I change it to something around that yearly income goal. So the point is just to keep this where you can see it, right? Like write it on your bathroom mirror, put a Post-it note up there. Whatever it is that's going to set these anchors and help lock it in further. And moving along, we're going to look at some other ways that I lock in the vision. As I mentioned, there's several ways that I do vision boards, and so I'm going to show you some of those as well. One of the ways that I do this, and honestly I haven't done this since 2019, is a digital vision board. And so on my iPad, I have the Good Notes app. I think it's like $7.99 or something. And I have Pinterest on there. And so I just pulled Pinterest images and kind of cut and paste those into GoodNotes. This also could be created in Photoshop or Canva or, you know, however you work digitally. And then again, I took a picture of this and put it as my phone screensaver. And then I also put it as my laptop screensaver, I believe, as well during the year. And so it just really connected me with I love the images on this. It was fun for me to find them, and it was just another way to, you know, lock in that vision. And I do have to say something about these things. Whenever I set my intentions and visions, for instance, when I did this in 2019, it felt really crazy and completely like, there's no way this is going to work, okay? Like, I don't want you to feel like I'm just setting all this stuff and like, well, it just happens, or, you know, like it's so easy. It's not. Like, I always have to stretch my vision. But the cool thing is when I journal, like I found over the years, I have found so many times where I write out like my big declaration for the year. Like, I'll journal it out, or like I created this vision board on an iPad, had no idea. I almost believe like this is silly because it's not going to happen. And I write this stuff out in my journal of like, this is what I would like to happen. And I totally don't know how it's going to work. But then every single time, I will find it like a year later. I'll go back at the end of the year when I do kind of my debriefing over what went well of the year and like, or what didn't go well or whatever. And it's like, this stuff has just happened. And so that's, I think, where I feel like it's almost magical, because I don't know how it's going to work, but somehow it just does. So that's why I'm completely obsessed with doing these goal connections and vision boards. And here's some other ways that I've done them. This is hanging in my office right now. I haven't updated it for 2021 yet. This is a framed vision board. I basically have an old frame that I got from like an antique thrift type store. I took the inner pieces out and stapled twine to the back, and then I just hang images that relate to my vision and make me feel like it's more real, right? And so that's always hanging with it while I'm sitting at my desk, so I can see that, and it just brings it in closer. Another way that I have that working for me is with this bulletin cork board. So I kind of made a ritual out of it, so to speak. I don't want that to sound too woo-woo, but I just, again, had fun with the process. And so I added some animal print tissue paper. You know, I set some time apart in my day, like told the kids, hey, I'm doing this, you know, this is my me time, this is my time to really connect. And so I found this one has more just like quotes and sayings and articles and images that I just find really lovely and that motivate me. And so I think that article at the bottom is something from like Oprah magazine, and she was doing a interview, I think with Ralph Lauren or somebody, and she said, you know, my goal wasn't to be rich, my goal was just to be surrounded with beautiful things. And just that, oh my gosh, just I love that so much, because that really is it for me. Like, I just want to be surrounded with so much beauty, and as you know, I say all the time, I just want to have fun and have an easy business. Like, it gets, you know, if we spend so much of our time working, I want it to be fun and easy, right? Like, that's got to be something that I'm able to incorporate in my life too. So here's another process. This was just a thick postcard that I think came in something like some of their, you know, branding material or whatever. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to use this. Just another chance for me to lay paint down on something. And so I put a layer of gesso or gesso or however you say it on there. And then I threw some paint on there as well. I wrote my main intention for 2021, ease and fun 2021, on the underneath layer, and then just piled some paint on top of that, you know. And I didn't actually get it finished on here, so this is not the end result, but then this is another little piece that I'm just going to hang up on my wall by my desk. And so it's going to remind me, you know, are you doing this with ease and fun? Like, is this something you want to be doing in your business to run it from a place of ease and fun? And so I'm always checking in with myself. And, you know, this year I've just really, I'm only committing to working on projects that truly light me up and make it easy and fun, and where I am surrounded with that beauty. So here are some points that I want us to remember before we close this out. Number one, there are no rules. You get to create whatever and however you want to, right? Like, this is your sacred process. This is your sacred space to hold your visions and dreams. And that's not something I think we should take lightly. It's such a beautiful thing because that can really move us forward in our business and our life till we get to the place of like we are just surrounded with whatever we want to be surrounded with. There's, no right or wrong. I really hope that you give yourself permission to skip the perfectionism and just enjoy the process. I know when we're some of us are, a lot of us, when we're faced with a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper, we just don't want to mess it up. But this is your place to mess it up, to get in there, to dig through what you want your life to be. And to connect to that feeling and visualizing your goals and dreams. That is so kind of the whole point of this whole process, is to really connect to it. Even if you don't know how it's going to work, right? Even if you think this is the craziest thing to want these big things and you don't know that can actually materialize in your life, but just to connect to the feeling of how it would feel if this happened for you and when this happens for you, and just to know that even if you have the smallest, tiniest mustard seed size idea that this can happen for you, to connect, to feel it and visualize it, to see your life playing out with the things on your board, like what would it look like if they did come true, and when they do come true, just have the smallest belief around that. And of course, have fun with it, right? Like, this is just part of the process, to get to have fun with this and create your board when you have time and you can enjoy it. Like, don't rush through it, like, I know that we all have busy lives, but I really encourage you to set aside some time for this. And to review those goals and those dreams and the visions and look at those boards and everything you've created. Review it often. Surround your office with it, or your workspace, or your bathroom, or your closet, wherever. Just keep it in front of you. And to always be committed and stay focused and boldly go forth with your vision, because I know it's so easy to quit. And kind of that's where we get into that, place where we're kind of in and kind of out, but go all in. It's completely worth it. And a final note before we wrap up here, I really hope that you will ask yourself at the end of every day, because this is kind of what I do, and it's helped me, of like, what did I do today to bring myself closer to my goals? And just consistently checking in with myself and knowing that I'm going to stay on this course, because all of this stuff is possible. And please believe me when I say all of this stuff is possible. All the desires in your heart are possible, and I'm living proof that that is truth, because just, 4 or 5 years ago, I was so broke. My kids were on welfare. Like, we were not in a good place. But I was so determined to get out of that and create such a better life for us. And from that place and from that desire and from putting these goals out on a vision board and journaling and making this a real part of my life, I was able to grow a multi-6-figure business. And I'm very proud of that. It blows me away because I still don't even know how it all happened. But I do know that it started with the idea that I could have something more for my life. So I invite you to do the same for yours. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that I was able to give this to you, because I think it's going to be helpful. But from here, you have to go take it and do the work. So do the work. It's worth it. Thank you so much again, and I'll talk to you soon.